Hey everybody, looks like we are finally live as I, of course, am trying to pull up the chat here. But thanks everybody who's joining on to the Monday morning live stream. This is going to be the new day. We're going to be doing these live streams every Monday. We're going to be going live here on the channel every Monday, 8 a.m. Pacific. To start off, it's just going to be me, but we're going to eventually have Brad J join every Monday talking Dodger baseball. Thanks to everybody who's starting off their week here with me on the channel. It's super cool that, of course, the Dodgers are going to be going to Japan this week, which is pretty awesome. It's pretty crazy. Going to be, flying all the way to Japan to play a couple exposition games, right? But later this week, basically, what is it? Friday and Saturday, 6 a.m. Eastern, so 3 a.m. Pacific on Saturday will be the first one. And then the second game will be on Saturday night, right? So it'll be Saturday night for the West Coast. It will be 8 p.m. Pacific. It'll be Sunday afternoon out in Japan when they have their second exposition game. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. I want to thank everybody who's hopping on the stream Monday morning. Hopefully everybody's starting off the week right. This is a new day for the live streams. It's going to be every Monday at 8 a.m. talking Dodger baseball. And today, we're going to be talking about Blake Snell, right? Blake Snell had a kind of a rough start yesterday in spring. But I think the big story is that Blake Snell, opening day starter, right? I'm talking about opening day at Dodger Stadium, right? I think that's the big news, right? That's coming out. It looks like Blake Snell is going to be the opening day starter, and that's definitely a bit surprising, at least in my opinion, right? Because I was expecting, I don't know, maybe even Yamamoto to get the nod twice, right? But looks like Blake Snell's going to be the guy, and that just leads to the next question: is Blake Snell going to be the number one starter then for the Dodgers, right? Is he going to be the number one starter for the Dodgers? What do you guys think? Comment below. Thanks to everybody who's hopping on the stream. And yeah, tell me where you're listening from. What do you think? What do you think of Blake Snell having a rough start to start off the, had a rough start yesterday, of course, I should say, in spring training. But it looks like, basically Dave Roberts has implied that Blake Snell is likely, as I look at my notes here, likely getting the start for Dodger Stadium opener on March 27th. Dave Roberts is, of course, from Fabian Ardaya. Dave Roberts said he wasn't allowed to say it outright, but intimidated that Blake Snell will get the Dodger Stadium opener on March 27th. Snell's next outing will be one of the Tokyo expositions, right? So one of the couple starts that they're having this week, right? Now, I think Blake Snell was the biggest splash for sure in the free agency market, right? This was the biggest signing by far in baseball. This was the big signing that everybody wanted, right? I think this is the big signing, right? Everybody wanted Blake Snell, and the Dodgers ended up getting him, right? I think that was the big story all across baseball. And that was a huge story, right? That the Dodgers ended up getting Blake Snell before the season because the Dodgers won the World Series, and then they ended up getting the biggest star available, right? And that was the big story for sure. So now I assume that's why Blake Snell is slated to be the starter, right? I think that would make sense why, but at the same time, it's a little concerning for sure to see what we saw yesterday from Blake Snell. I think that's what's a little bit, at least in my opinion, I think I'm a bit concerned, watching the Dodgers yesterday, against the A's, looking at the stats here, Blake Snell definitely struggled, having giving up 5 hits, giving up 4 runs. He did strike out 5, but they definitely hit the ball off of him pretty well yesterday in spring. So that's the big concern I think that everybody's having right now. How Blake Snell, is he 100%? And that's that's the big question mark, right? I hope he's 100%. Lemon says, morning, homie, thank you for all you do so we can be in the loop. But Coleman, San Fernando Valley, right? Yeah. Yeah, no, I love talking Dodger baseball. Thanks for watching, Lemon818. And, yeah, San Fernando Valley, we like the San Fernando Valley. We know we have a lot of Dodger fans out in the Valley, which is super cool. So, yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're watching this stream for the first time, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Myself, Brad J, we're bringing you this Dodger content every single day. We got live streams popping up all the time. Every Monday, we're going to be hopping on here to talk Dodger baseball. And then next week is going to be even better, right? Because next week, think about it. The Dodgers are going to have their first 2 regular season games of the 2025 season next year, and it's going to be in Japan against the Cubs, right? It's a huge story. The whole world's going to be watching, especially in Japan. I don't know so much about out here stateside because it is going to be kind of a rough time, right? 3 a.m. Pacific. But we'll be on Fox and FS1, so maybe a lot of people will watch. But 3 a.m., so I'm not gonna be doing a watch along that day. I mean, yeah, I won't be able to stay up at 3 a.m. So no watch along that day, but we'll definitely have most likely a live post game. So it will be basically me and Brad doing a live post game, talking about the Dodgers, right, and what they just did. Hopefully, talking about the first win of 25, right? So I think that's gonna be some pretty good content for sure. Some good, Dodgers Digest content. So make sure to, subscribe. And next Tuesday, Wednesday, instead of watching or listening to another post game, you can come here and we'll be talking baseball, talking Dodger baseball, and then also, taking your questions and all that. So yeah, that's going to be next week. Next week, Dodgers are back playing regular season baseball. It's so cool. It's pretty awesome, and it's super exciting to say the least. So, yeah, we're going to have some special coverage with that for sure on the channel. So, going back to Blake Snell, what do you guys think? Blake Snell is the opening day starter, it looks like. Blake Snell is going to be starting for the Dodgers when they take on the D. Isn't it strange? At least for me, it is strange. The Dodgers are going to be taking on the Detroit Tigers to start off the year, right? Which is, I don't know. I don't really like that. I mean, come on. It's an American League team. Come on, guys. What are we doing? What do you guys think? Everyday interleague play is stupid, in my opinion. I mean, I really think it is. I think it's dumb. I think it takes away from the fact that we have 2 different leagues. I mean, this is not the NBA. It's not the Eastern and Western Conference, right? This is 2 separate leagues. It's supposed to be 2 separate leagues. And the fact that they're playing, all the time, basically interleague play on a daily basis, I think takes away from it takes away a lot, right? And, to have the opening day against the Tigers, in my opinion, it just doesn't work, right? I think I want to see them taking on a National League team. The only cool thing about the Tigers this year is, of course, they have Jack Flaherty again, right? The Dodgers, remember, traded. Jack Flaherty got traded from the Tigers to the Dodgers, and then Jack Flaherty's now back on the Tigers, right? So there is that added. I mean, Skubal, I assume, is going to be starting opening day, right? I mean, I'm pretty certain, right? Skubal will be the first. He'll be Skubal taking on Snell. Imagine that pitching matchup. Wow. And then game 2 on Fridays, I assume, is Jack Flaherty, right? I mean, come on. Flaherty has to be the number 2 guy on that team. So I assume Flaherty will be going for them. Who's going for us? Well, I don't know. Yamamoto, maybe? Yamamoto, Glasnow, one of those 2, right? So it'd be still a pretty good matchup. So it's going to be a crazy series for sure. But just the idea of an American League team, I believe it's the first time. Maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the first time in baseball history that the Dodgers take on an American League team for their opening day. I don't recall that happening before. I think we've always had, obviously before the everyday interleague play, it was always a National League team. But in the last few years, when Major League Baseball switched over to the daily interleague, so everybody could play each other at least once, one series. I don't think the Dodgers had an American League matchup on opening day. I could be wrong, though. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's early out here on the West Coast. It's 8 a.m. Super early as I drink my coffee here and try to stay awake with you guys. But it is so early. Hopefully everybody's having a good Monday, right? Mondays are always the worst, right? They're like the worst, for everybody, right? Because you're barely you're kind of getting up, and it's always a rough time, right? But hopefully everybody's having a good start to the week. Now a lot of comments say, you guys, we got to get some more participation, guys. Let's go. But because we'll close out this stream if we're not having much. But yeah, I know it definitely is a rough. See, I always think spring training is fun, but at the same time, it's not always the best, right? Because we have these games that don't mean a lot. It's not the best, right? I mean, I always think it's more fun once we get into the regular season and we start having some real games. That's when it's super fun, right? It gets a lot more fun then because we have games that actually mean something, and yeah, I mean I think it's going to be an exciting season. But yeah, Blake Snell, shocking in a way, going to be the opening day starter for the Dodgers. It looks like, but kind of a rough day yesterday against the A's. A's who are expected to once again be a disaster, right? I mean, come on, playing in a AAA ballpark, but I mean, I guess the A's maybe have a few back. I mean, Gio Urshela, I guess maybe we'll see that's like the only guy I recognize here on their roster. But the Dodgers yesterday, just to kind of give you a little bit of what happened yesterday. Did you guys see? Of course, Kim knocked in a couple big runs, right? He had one at bat, and he hit the ball up the middle, knocked in a couple runs. I really like Kim's swing. His swing looks pretty good. I think he's got a good swing, and I think that's something that's where the Dodgers kind of looked at too when they decided to go after him, right? I think he's got a pretty nice swing. So that's something that's good, right? For sure, because we need players that can get on base, and that's what Kim's going to do. I think Kim's going to be one of those guys that's going to be a contact hitter. He looks like that, at least in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but I think Ha-Seong Kim was one of those guys that's going to be a contact hitter. That's going to be a player that's going to just get on base. He's going to find a way to get hits and all that. That's what Ha-Seong Kim looks like he's going to be. Which is obviously, great, right? I think it's awesome that we have a player like that on an already stacked roster, with so many power hitters, right? The Dodgers have so much power in their lineup, with Mookie Betts and Shohei and Freddie Freeman. We got so many guys that can hit the ball out of the ball. I mean, look at Freddie Freeman. This guy is hitting the ball out in spring. I mean, I don't know. I'm a little bit shocked with Freddie Freeman because I really thought Freddie was going to kind of slowly incorporate himself after all the injuries he had last year, and that has not been the case at all. Freddie Freeman has had an explosive spring, to say the least, hitting massive home runs and, looking like the Freddie Freeman of the World Series, which is pretty crazy. It's like the World Series ended, and it's still going on for him. So, I mean, if that's the case, it's going to be a crazy year, and there's nobody that's going to stop us. Which, I mean, come on. Who's going to stop the Dodgers? Nobody is. There's nobody in baseball that has a remote opportunity to really beat the Dodgers, right? Lemon says, we should be ready for whoever steps up, so not sweating the Tigers. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sweating the Tigers either. I just think it's a little weird we're playing the Tigers to kick off the year because it's an American League team. But, I mean, outside of Skubal and Flaherty, they don't have much in their lineup that could really cause any damage to us. So if we jump to an early lead in either of those games, we're going to win, right? I mean, that's basically the case. And that's how it's going to be most days. Most days the Dodgers play, I mean, even the Yankees, they're going to lose Stanton for the rest of the year. Maybe the Mets are the only lineup that maybe is a little scary, but basically, for the majority of the year, the Dodgers, they jump out to a 3-4 nothing lead. I mean, the game's in the bag, basically. I mean, that's just how it's going to be all year. If we jump on early, if we jump early on teams, they're not going to be able to catch us because we're going to find a way to get runs late in the game, and we have a stacked bullpen, so it's going to be bad for everybody else. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah, the Tigers, not going to be too concerned with them. I think we get those dubs. We got 3 games, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then we got Sunday off. So, yeah, I'm just really pumped for next week because next week we're going to see, real baseball, right, against the Cubs. I think a lot of people are overlooking that. We're going to have real regular season baseball next week so early in the morning, but we're going to have it. So that's going to be super fun to see, regular season baseball again, right? So super excited for that. Thanks for everybody who's hopping on the live stream. This is their first time. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're a pretty new Dodger channel, right? We started, it was last July, around the trade deadline last year. Myself, Brad J, we hopped on the YouTube world for the first time, and we've been at it ever since. So July to March, trying to figure out how long has that been. Like 9 months, I think. I'm just kind of averaging it because I can't count this early in the morning, but I think it's been 9 months. And so it's been about 9 months, and it's been super exciting. It's been a thrill to be talking Dodger baseball with everybody. And, it's been crazy how our audience has grown, and we have people from all over the world that watch us here, which is so cool. So, yeah, thanks to everybody who's, tuning in, and we're always tuning in. We got people that have been with us since day one, which is so cool. Thanks to the original, the OGs, right, who were here at the beginning when it all started out, when we had, no subs, right, but thanks to everybody else who hopped on after the World Series. I know thousands of you joined us after the World Series win, which is expected, right? Come on. The Dodgers were champions, and it was insane. It was like one of the most craziest times to be a LA sports fan last year during, was it late October, early November? It was one of the best times for sure to be a Dodger fan. And I think everybody would agree with that. So, yeah, for those that are hopping on, talking Blake Snell, what do you guys think? Blake Snell, should he be the opening day starter? Do you agree with that report or that basically decision that's already been kind of leaked out by Fabian Ardaya? Looks like, it's going to be Blake Snell starting Game 1 at Dodger Stadium, which is so crazy. It's absolutely insane. That baseball is back at Dodger Stadium, and it looks like it's going to be Blake. What do you guys think? But yeah, thanks for hopping on, everybody. Trying to go back to the chat here. Everybody's busy on this Monday morning. I know it's busy, right? Everybody's driving around, or maybe if you're at work, sitting at work trying to find something to do. Hop on the channel. We're talking Dodger baseball. Make sure also to share this video. If you're watching the video, just put it on Facebook. That helps the algorithm. Or share it to those. We have how there's a whole bunch of Dodgers Facebook channels. Just throw it on there too. Those Facebook groups always important to do that, right? Super important because we get more people that are seeing the channel for the first time. But yeah, Blake Snell back, wearing, not back wearing Dodger blues. This is his first year, but I'm saying back, with another team, right? Which is pretty crazy. What did you guys think of the Blake Snell story? That's what I was going to talk about. I just totally forgot about that, but I wanted to talk about this. Blake Snell, this article on the San Francisco Chronicle came out talking about how the Giants didn't even talk to him. That's basically what he said. Basically talking about last year, leaving the Giants. Blake Snell said this yesterday. The Giants didn't even talk to me. It was surprising. I thought they really liked me. So what do you guys think of Blake Snell saying that? Basically, he's saying how he was pretty tight with manager Bob Melvin, who of course knew him from San Diego, and he was saying that basically the team ignored him, right? And that's so crazy, right? I mean, come on. I mean, that just shows you how bad the Giants are as an organization if they let Blake Snell leave that way, right? That is absolutely crazy. The Blake Snell, the Giants basically let him go, didn't even talk to him. That's pretty crazy, right? But not surprising, right? I mean, the Giants have fumbled this many times. They fumbled opportunities to sign players. And the Dodgers were there to sweep in and grab them, right? But, I was just surprised the Dodgers even got him, right? Out of all the signings, I don't know what you think, but I think Blake Snell was the most surprising one, right? I did not expect, that would happen. Lemon says, I read that. He said not even Melvin would. Yeah, so it's just crazy, right? Even Bob Melvin didn't even text him back, right? Which is pretty crazy, considering everything he's been in baseball. I mean, I know he only pitched 1 year from the Giants, and he was hurt, right, most of that year. But he had a 3-year contract. Did have an opt out, right? So I think I think in reality, I think what pissed the Giants off was that Blake Snell opted out after 1 year, right? I think that really annoyed the Giants front office. The idea of Blake Snell opting out after 1 year and basically testing the free agent market, that was the that's what pissed everybody off. So I think that's why he didn't get his calls returned or his text returned. But the Dodgers didn't care, right? They went out and got him. Because think about it, the Dodgers didn't sign Blake Snell. Somebody else would have got him. There is no doubt about it. I'm sure there was a lot of competition to sign him. A lot of teams wanted this guy because he's a proven star, right? I mean, we have another proven superstar on this team, right? This guy was in the World Series with the Rays. This guy has been money, right, for many years. Played with San Diego, was good on their team as well. Went to the NLCS with them. Went to the Giants, had a rough year, right? But had he been healthy, what did he remember? He was pretty banged up to start off the year last year, right? But then he became basically the best pitcher in baseball after the All-Star break. His ERA was under 2. They only lost 1 game. This guy had an outstanding second half of the year. And I think when that happened, that was like probably when he thought, wow, I'm pitching so good, and this team is stinks, right? They're not doing anything. They're not taking advantage of everything I'm doing. The Giants did not start winning. They didn't compete. They didn't even get close to the Dodgers or get close to the wild card. And I think that's when he realized, I want to be on a team where I can win the World Series. Blake Snell has never won a World Series. I want to be on a competitive team. Why not go to the Dodgers? And that's where it all started. That's where it all started for Blake Snell leaving the Giants, because I think, he realized that, everything that he would do wouldn't make a difference, right? Because the Giants were just so bad that it just would not make a difference. So that's how we got him. It's super crazy the way the Dodgers ended up getting Blake Snell, but they got him, and now he's going to be the opening day guy at Dodger Stadium come this year. Basically, it's a breaking story that was broke yesterday by Fabian Ardaya, right? So, pretty exciting. A little bit shocked, though. I was thinking, see, here's the question now. Yamamoto is going to be, one of the starters next week, right? Tuesday, Wednesday. They haven't decided yet who's going first, who's going second. So Yamamoto pitches one of those games. Is he pitching Friday then, or is he pitching Saturday against the Tigers, right? Because the Dodgers play Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, and basically they have 8 days until the next regular season game, right? Because it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they're flying back to LA, and they're going to take on the Angels, right? Just going to double check the schedule. They're taking on the Angels. They're flying back to LA, and they're taking on the Angels for 3 games, right? That's the plan, right? They're going to be, the traditional right? So they're flying, they're doing those 2 games, and then they're going to fly back to LA and take on the Angels on the Sunday the 23rd, Monday the 24th, Tuesday the 25th. The first game will be at Dodger Stadium, and then the next 2 will be at Angel Stadium. So there's those 3, I guess you call them spring training exposition games before the actual opening day on Thursday. So Yamamoto is not going to pitch, I assume, in those exposition games, so he's going to be slated to go probably Friday or Saturday, right? So that's pretty exciting. That's super cool. But at the same time, yeah. Lemon says, but it's not like players line up to play with the Giants, not even trying to keep him. It was weird, but Snell made a good choice. Yeah, of course he made a great choice. Nobody's lining up to go to San Francisco because the Giants they stink, right? I mean, they're an awful team. They have basically had to sign Buster Posey out of retirement to kind of fix things. So that's going to take many years for them to get relevant again. Basically, an irrelevant team. The Dodgers are the most relevant team in baseball, and the Giants have become an absolute joke, right? And can't wait for this year when we take on the Giants, because those are going to be some easy wins, right? Although Giants and Dodger games are always close, right? We always think they're going to be easy, and then they turn out to be pitching duels or low-scoring games. So we'll see. It's still, in my opinion, it's the best rivalry in baseball. It has to be, because the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry is just so diluted by now. You have so many players that have played on both teams, and it's not the same anymore. I think the Giants and Dodgers rivalry is still pretty heated. You could see it. It has to be. Has to be, because, and then even now, look at Blake Snell's leaving the Giants to go to the Dodgers. I mean, come on. Imagine when Blake Snell goes to San Francisco next year. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be absolutely nuts how that's going to look. Fans are going to be going crazy. Lemon818 says, I'm sure Snell knew a couple pitchers came out and straight out said they wanted to play for the Dodgers. So, Snell jumped on it quick before the Dodgers picked. Yeah, I mean, probably Snell knew a couple pitchers. Yeah. I mean, these guys are always talking, right? I mean, that's for sure. They're always, in the loop, just trying to figure out what's the next move for all their guys, right? So yeah, I mean, I think it's funny that, we have this, Blake Snell leaves the Giants, comes to the Dodgers. Lance says the Giants only got Adams, well, actually, Adames, nothing else. They helped us out with Snell and Conforto. Yeah, they sure did. I mean, Conforto is another guy that I think we haven't really talked about too much, but I think he's going to be a pretty good piece for the Dodgers this year, right? I think he's going to help out a lot. So, Dodgers got him on a short-term deal, of course. Another surprise pickup. The Giants inexplicably let go. I don't understand how that happened. I mean, Giants just, come on, guys. I mean, they don't know what they're doing, right? And the Dodgers do know what they're doing. They have the best front office in baseball. They have proven it again and again this year. That we are on top of our game when it comes to putting together this team, right? I mean, think about it. The Dodgers are even better going into 25 than they were last year, right? I mean, that's crazy. The Dodgers won the World Series last year, and they are better going into this year. That never happens. It never happens in any sport. Usually when you win a championship, you're going to lose players, or you're not going to, maybe you don't lose players, but you just bring out the same team, right? And you're usually not as good. Look at the Denver Nuggets in basketball. They have made basically no, outside of signing Russell Westbrook this year, but really they haven't really made any big changes. It's the same core from the 23 championship, and now they're not as good, right? It's so obvious. They're not as good. They're not contending. And the Dodgers didn't want to do that. They didn't want to end up in that case. They wanted to be contending again and being the top team, and that's why they went out and got players. Brian says, they'll move for the Giants to sign Adames just to try to stay above 500. He will be traded by next year for sure. Yeah, Adames will probably be traded, by next year. I mean, Willie Adames is a player that the Dodgers were interested in as well. But, I mean, yeah, that guy, I don't know. The Giants don't know what they're doing. That's the truth. Lemon818 says Padres and Dodgers is a better watch for me. So to see Snell pitch against his old team is gonna be that's gonna be. Think about it. Snell has a couple enemies now in the National League West. He has the Padres and the Giants, 2 enemies. It's gonna be crazy. Now, here's my question. I don't think the Padres and Dodgers are they really a rivalry, right? I mean, I think they're a rivalry. They've been a rivalry as of late, right? It's becoming I think it's still becoming a rivalry. Because I think our true rival still is the Giants, right? Just through and through, the Giants are the Dodgers' biggest rival. They're the most hated team. Both teams absolutely hate each other, right? And I don't know, San Diego, I mean, come on, what have they done, right? I mean, this team is never won a World Series. They're not really a classic team, you would say, because they have no history. So the Dodgers and Giants do have a lot of history, right? We are... Basically, both of these teams have so much history. We go back to New York. So for me, the Dodgers and Giants is a true rivalry. Dodgers and San Diego would be a rivalry in progress, right? Like it's starting to heat up. It's starting to slowly build, but it's not really a true rivalry in my eyes. I would say, right? I think it still has a lot of work to be done. That's just me. I think, we already played in the playoffs twice, which obviously builds it up. So maybe this year it becomes a real rivalry. Or maybe it's going to be a rivalry forever. But I think San Diego, guys, I mean, come on. This team is going to get pretty bad again. They're going to get bad, so bad soon. So we're not going to have to worry about these guys very soon. I'll just leave it at that because they got absolutely decimated this offseason. Right, by us, and there's nothing going for them. I mean, think about it. The National League West is turned out to be a pretty bad division. Maybe the D-backs a little better. Come on, guys. I mean, the National League West stinks. We got some bad teams in here, and the Dodgers are clearly by far, favorites to win the division. The National League pennant is actually going to be a little bit more contested, right? Because you have the New York Mets. The Mets, they stay healthy, they're going to be pretty good. And then Phillies, let's not write off the Phillies. The Phillies are going to be, pitching's obviously a concern, but if Bryce Harper has an insane year, watch out. We got somebody watching from Kanagawa, Japan. Thank you very much for watching us. Appreciate it. Luckily, you don't have to get up so early. Trying to pronounce your name, Metzlizin. Luckily, you don't have to get up so early next week when the Dodgers play out in Japan, right? So thanks for watching. We got people from all over the world tuned in, which is great. And yeah, next week going to Japan. The Dodgers are going to be flying out this week, right? Have a couple exposition games like I talked about when we kicked off the stream. Going to have their 2 exposition games later this week to start off the tour out in Japan. Going to do 4 games, 2 exposition games, and 2 regular season games, right? 2 regular season games, 2 exposition games. It's going to be super cool. Looking forward to it. Can't wait. Dodger baseball is back, right? Well, it's been back for a few weeks, but I think next week it actually officially comes back, right? We have actually real baseball games to talk about. Because these games right now, they're so rough to talk about. And yeah. Brian, we've got a question here. Mike, would you be disappointed if Ohtani never pitches for the Dodgers? After his performance last year, I honestly wouldn't be too disappointed. He played incredible, and they won the World Series. Yeah, this is a good point, Brian, because like I've talked about, the Dodgers are just not going to risk Ohtani, right? I mean, Shohei Ohtani is the best hitter for the Dodgers. I don't know what you guys think, but I think he's the best hitter the Dodgers have, right? So if they decide to risk him by making him a regular starter, right? A regular starter, at least, well, he's not going to pitch every 5 days, right? That's not going to happen. Pitch once a week, right? Pitches once a week, right? Every 7 days or so. So we're rolling him out there 4 times a month. If we start doing that, how is that going to affect his performance at the plate, right, as a batter? And I think that's what the Dodgers are thinking about here. As we know, Ohtani's rehab process has been paused, delaying further his opportunity to pitch for the Dodgers, right? I think May is not likely now. I mean, nobody's saying that yet, but come on, guys. Do you guys really think that May is a likely possibility now? I mean, I don't think it is. I mean, I think it's becoming less and less likely that May becomes a possibility, right? So I think we're in that situation where this can get pushed back even further, right? To June, July, just because of the way his rehab is going. So would I be disappointed? I don't know. I don't think I'd be too disappointed because the Dodgers have so many pitchers. They're so stacked with their pitching rotation. I mean, how can you? It doesn't matter really. I mean, the Dodgers got so much they have so many weapons now to roll out for their pitchers that they don't even need Ohtani to be a star like, say, the Angels needed, right? The Angels were so desperate last year, or not just not last year. I'm talking about the Angels were so desperate when they had Ohtani that they needed Ohtani to be basically a Cy Young level pitcher for them to have a shot at the playoffs. The Dodgers don't need that at all. He didn't even pitch last year and they won the World Series, right? Think about it. The Dodgers, he hasn't even pitched yet and they already won the World Series with him. So they don't really need his pitching. They don't. I mean, it's obviously an added piece, but it's not really something the Dodgers need. So the Dodgers are not going to. I think Ohtani, though. Let's be honest, guys. I mean, the idea that Ohtani never pitches for the Dodgers doesn't seem likely, right? Because Ohtani is going to be, pitching, right? He personally himself wants to pitch for the Dodgers, right? I mean, I think it's one of his personal goals, to pitch for us. So I think the idea that he won't pitch is not likely. I think he will be pitching for us eventually. Lance says, yeah, Conforto hit 17 of his 20 home runs away from San Francisco, which is the worst or second worst hitter's ballpark. In baseball, I'm going to go on a limb and say he's going to hit 30 this year. Wow. That would be insane, Lance. I mean, if he hits 30 home runs this year, I mean, that's going to be absolutely crazy, right? I mean, we're going to be talking about like how some of the Teoscar Hernández did last year, right? Which totally shocked the world with his numbers. I mean, if this guy goes out and hits 30 home runs, I mean, forget about it, man. This is going to be an insane year if that happens because, that would be crazy. It would be because, I mean, nobody's expecting that at all, right? Nobody's I think everybody would be pretty happy as I make sure to check we're live here. Yes, we are live, but I think everybody would be happy with Conforto hitting 15, 20 home runs. I think everybody would be really comfortable with that, right? I think the majority of people would be comfortable with that. So to say that he would hit 30 would absolutely be crazy, right? That would be absolutely nuts. But it can't happen. I think he's playing at Dodger Stadium, which is an easier park for sure than say AT&T, right? So that's something to keep an eye on for sure. He's going to be playing at a much more accessible ballpark for sure, right? Because hitting in San Francisco is an absolutely rough place to hit, right? That's an absolutely rough place. 11818 says Ohtani stops pitching, we'll have a great hitter, but if he pitches, we'll lose his base running. We're not going to risk Ohtani getting hurt on the slide. So pitcher, yeah, that's the truth. I mean, that's the thing. Ohtani is not going to steal all those bases this year if he decides to go into the pitching, which he is, because Ohtani, like I said, guy, I think the Dodgers personally, they're not going to come out and say this, but I think they wish that Ohtani would just give up the whole pitching idea, right? If he just came out and said, guys, I just think my body can't handle both. The Dodgers are not going to come out and say, the Dodgers won't pressure him and say, no, you have to pitch. They won't. They'll be like, you know what, Shohei, we agree with you. We don't think your body can deal with both. And let's focus on you continuing, not becoming, continuing to be baseball's best hitter, right? So I think the Dodgers would be totally cool with that. I don't know what you guys think, but would the Dodgers be cool with Ohtani coming out and saying, I don't think my body could take pitching and hitting anymore? They would be fine with that. So but I just don't think Ohtani's there yet. Look about Ohtani is still motivated to pitch again. I see it all the time. He has not gotten through that yet. Ohtani is still, working towards a return to the mound, right? He still is. He still is. That's the truth. I don't think he's given up that dream yet of being basically, Babe Ruth, right? That's what Ohtani is. He's basically the modern day Babe Ruth. And don't let anybody tell you different, because that's what he is. This guy, there's been nobody like Babe Ruth since, nobody's been Babe Ruth until now, right? A dominant pitcher and a dominant hitter. And that's what Shohei Ohtani is, right? So for him to just kind of give up on that dream to continue that is not, he's not there yet, right? But I think the Dodgers are going to, as we know, they're delaying his return to the mound, which is not surprising. That was, of course, the big story that broke last week, because there just isn't reason to risk him, right? They're just not. And I think that's the big concern for everybody right now, is how much are we going to risk Ohtani in the 2025 season, knowing that he is, baseball's best hitter. That's what he is. He's baseball's, not only the Dodgers' best hitter, he's baseball's best hitter. What do you guys think? I think he's baseball's best hitter, right? I really think so, and I think that's the big reason why I think the Dodgers are just not going to risk, they're not going to throw that away. They're just not, and I think that's the big key here, right? Not throwing that away, and making sure that he's healthy for the 25 season, right? I think that's healthy as a hitter, right? I think that's what everybody in the Dodgers organization wants to make sure, right? And they want to make sure that happens with all their players, right? Everybody's got to be healthy for 25. You can't have people going on the DL, and that's why they've been so careful with who they've been using in spring training, right? Spring training, as you guys see, has been a They've been pretty careful, right? Ohtani's the only player, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he was the only player so far in spring to have 4 at-bats last Thursday out of the entire, basically, I'm talking about the regular Dodgers, right? I believe out of all the regular players that we're going to see next year, he's been the only player in the entire spring that had 4 at-bats in one game. That happened last Thursday. So that's pretty crazy, right? Not even one player on the Dodgers has played a full game or a full cycle of at-bats. So that just shows you how careful they're being. And the Dodgers are still picking up wins. They've only lost, 2 games in March, right? They're basically undefeated until this weekend in the month of March in the spring training games. So they didn't even need the guys to play. That's how good the AAA system is. And that's the big key here. That's with the Dodgers, putting together another great team in 25. They're not willing to risk, another. They're not going to risk injury, right? They're just not. And I think that's the big key here with the Dodgers for 25, making sure everybody stays healthy and ready to go. I think that's what everybody's looking forward to for sure. It's going to be it's going to be a different year for sure. It's going to be a different year with the Dodgers moving into defending World Series champions mode, right? This is going to be The Dodgers are defending World Series champions, right? That's exactly what they are going into the 25 season. And I think it's going to bring a whole new level of animosity, right? When it comes to, teams playing the Dodgers, right? Think of all the animosity and hate the Dodgers are going to get around baseball. They're going to get booed. Fans are very angry at the Dodgers, just to be honest with you. I mean, you guys see it all the time. The whole baseball world is pissed off at the Dodgers for winning the World Series, number one, and number two, for basically getting all the players in the offseason, right? Roki Sasaki, Blake Snell, Tanner Scott, to name a few. We got the whole gang this year, right? The whole free agent, plethora of players that were available. We got them. So I think everybody is pretty angry around baseball, and that's funny as a Dodger fan. It's super fun because I think, come on, we deserve this. The Dodgers have been so disappointing for years. Winning the division every year, not doing anything in the playoffs. It just went on for too long, right? Like I've said before, we deserve everything that's coming our way because it's just been too rough, right? It's been so rough as a Dodger fan, and it's great to see us back on top. Lemon818 says, but we did pay to see Ohtani pitch it in, so I don't see Ohtani not pitching. Ohtani knows he can do both, so he will pitch hit and maybe 20 slides. Yeah, I mean, he knows he could do both, but I think the Dodgers are going to be very careful. I mean, let's say he starts pitching and he gets hurt. I mean, they're going to shut him down for the rest of the year. I mean, that's how it's going to work here. The Dodgers are not going to try to rush. They're not going to say, okay, he's going to, they're just not. They're going to shut him down as a pitcher for the rest of the year to make sure he can start hitting again. They're going to do that. So I hope we see him pitch, for the Dodgers, but I just think we're going to be, we're not going to get what we, I think, expected here because I think that things have changed. Things have changed for the Dodgers, right? They have changed because I think Ohtani is a star. He's the biggest star in baseball now. I mean, here's a good question. Was Ohtani considered the biggest star in baseball before he came to the Dodgers, right? I think he was by some, but now it's been confirmed, right? I mean, now it's absolutely confirmed that he is baseball's best player, right? It's confirmed now, right? Because of the year he had last year. So that changed everything. That changed absolutely everything when it comes to the pitching because he did that without pitching. He became baseball's best player without pitching last year with the historic season he had. So that's what's changed everything in the game for Ohtani, right? And for the Dodgers, right? It's changed everything because now they have baseball's best player, and they're just not going to risk that. They're not going to risk him getting hurt, whatever. It's just not going to they don't want to do that. The Dodgers want a healthy Ohtani at the plate. They want him batting 4 to 5 times every game. They want those 4 or 5. How are we going to get those 4 or 5 up-bats from Ohtani every game if he starts pitching? That's going to be the question mark. How? Right? Because if he starts pitching, there's always going to be that opportunity where Ohtani has to take a day off the day after, or he has to take a day off before for whatever reason. And that's going to be where he's not playing. See, think about Ohtani last year was an everyday player as a DH. Every day he was playing, right? He missed less than 10 games last year, right? I don't remember the exact number, but he basically played almost every single day as a hitter. Every day he was out there. So how do we get that Ohtani in 25 if he's pitching? How do we get that? We don't get that, right? And that hurts the Dodgers, right? It does. Now, Ohtani would have to have, obviously, him pitching and winning 20 games doesn't hurt the Dodgers. But that's not going to happen either, right? Because to say Ohtani is going to be dominant at the mound from the get-go is unlikely, right? Ohtani's going to have some rust when he starts. He's not going to even get a chance to pitch in spring training, right? Because he's not at 100%. He had his, rough injury last year during the World Series that, I don't think it's talked about enough. He had shoulder surgery in the offseason. So that set him back. And so he's not getting a shot to pitch now. So when what are they going to do? They're going to put him in AAA, send him down. It's not to see. Here's the thing. Other pitchers have the opportunity to go do some rehab starts in the minor. The Dodgers can't do that with Ohtani. They can't. They can't send him down to Oklahoma City or to the Quakes. They can't do that because he has to play with the Dodgers. He can't go down at all. The Dodgers can't afford him to be out for not one series. That's how it is with Ohtani. I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think they can afford to have him out for one series, right? He can't be. He has to be out there all the time. So how are we going to get him into game shape if he can't go to the minors to get ready? Right? That's going to be the big question mark. Lemon818 says, Ryder's already claiming that Soto will take MVP in 2025. Who's taking MVP? Wow. Well, I don't think Soto will take MVP. I think that's not going to happen. Who's going to take MVP? Let's think about it. It's going to be somebody on the Dodgers, right? And why don't we go with, boy, this is a tough one. Let's go with Mookie Betts. I'm hoping Mookie Betts takes MVP this year. Mookie Betts has a historic season, and he takes MVP, right? That's my MVP pick. I don't know what you guys think. I hope he does. That'd be awesome. Mike Rodriguez says, Ohtani going to be safe for the second half? Yeah, that's right. I think he's going to be safe for the second half of the year. Playoff push. Maybe become a bullpen guy or, a starter here and there, and that's it. And come playoff time, he's not going to be the number one starter, right? Come on, guys. He's not going to be the number one starter for the Dodgers in the playoffs because they have Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu. They have too many players that are there to be the number one guy, the number one, number two. Ohtani is going to be like the number 4 guy come playoff time if he was starting by then. Big if, right? If he was still a starting pitcher by the time October came around. He will be the number 4 guy. Basically the guy that pitches in Game 4 or Game 5 of a best of 7. And in a best of 5, he'll be pitching Game 4, right? Right, that NLDS, he'd be the Game 4 guy. And, basically the Game 4 guy in any series, right? So that's what Ohtani would be. And let's say let's say it is that situation. In Game 4, how do we make sure Ohtani's healthy for Game 5? Because we're going to need him in the lineup for Game 5. So that's where the questions start to become. See, because if he's starting in a playoff game, how do we make sure he is healthy to play as a DH the next day? How? That's where it starts to become an issue, right? Because we need Ohtani out there hitting every game. Every game he's got to be out there hitting. We can't have him on the bench. We can't afford to sit him down. He's got to be out there every single game as a hitter because he is baseball's best hitter. So that's going to be the big question mark, right? How do we make sure he's healthy for those games if he's starting as a starting pitcher? Mike Rodriguez says, Dodgers have May and Gonsolin start. Yeah, so they have more guys too available. So how do we – I think Ohtani, we just don't need him to be an everyday starter. I think it's already a given. I think this guy he's baseball's best hitter, and we got to make sure that continues, right? I think that's what everybody's got to make sure we keep that going for 25. You just make sure he's still baseball's, he's healthy and ready to go, and not risking injury in 25, right? So I think pitching becomes just a secondary. It's just secondary, right? I really think it is. So that's my take on Ohtani. Ohtani's return to the mound, right? Because it's going to be his return to the mound, right? He hasn't pitched since 2023, the last time he was on the mound for the Angels. Over a year ago. Going to be 2 years this year. It's pretty crazy. I want to thank everybody who's hopped on the stream. Thank everybody who's liked this video and also commented. It's super awesome. Thanks for everybody. We're going to be doing this every Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, talking Dodger baseball. Next week, we're going to be doing this on Monday. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to have a live post game. So it's going to be super early in the morning. After the 2 games against the Cubs, we're going to be up here talking Dodger baseball, going over the games. Because, it's going to be the first 2, basically, to kick off the regular season, right? So we're going to have a big show for that. Mike says World Series predictions. Well, obviously the Dodgers in the World Series. No doubt about it. I have no doubts the Dodgers will make it. Again, maybe the Mets will give us a little trouble if they have a historic Juan Soto year, but we'll find a way to win that series. Dodgers in the World Series, but who they winning? Who are they going to take on in the World Series? That's a good question because I don't think it's the Yankees, right? The recent news of Garrett Cole, most likely out for 25 with the Tommy John, Giancarlo Stanton probably out for the year as well. I don't think it's the Yankees, right? I don't think it's the Yankees. Mike says I hope it's LA versus Houston. I don't think it's Houston either. American League is just so tight to call, right? Because it's not very good. There's not really that really good teams, right? I mean, there's some pretty bad teams out in the American League. But if I had to choose one, I think we should take a look at the Texas Rangers. Texas Rangers could have a bounce back year. They still got Bruce Bochy. Corey Seager's still out there. So I think we should keep an eye out for the Texas Rangers. And also, we should keep an eye out for the Boston Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox have a brand new pitching rotation. And if they could get hot, they could get some good years out of those guys. They could be in the World Series against the Dodgers. So I'm going to go with Red Sox versus Dodgers or Rangers versus Dodgers in the 2025 World Series. I don't think the Yankees make it this year. So I'm going with one of those two teams to play. And then in the World Series, we win in 4 or 5 games. I mean, come on. Yeah, the Dodgers win in 4 or 5 games. Mike says I want that winning. Yeah, I mean, I would like it too. But Houston they lost Alex Bregman. I think that's a huge loss. He went to Boston. They lost Justin Verlander. They're just a little bit banged up in terms of personnel. They don't have really much right now. So they lost Kyle Tucker. The Astros are not going to make the World Series. I don't think they will. It would be nice so we could beat them, but I don't think the Astros took a step back for sure going into this year. There's no doubt about it. They took a step back, didn't have the best free agency, and they took a step back. Well, guys, I want to thank everybody who's hopped on the stream today. It was great talking to everybody. I'm going to close this out. As always, make sure to subscribe, like the video, share the video. We got these live streams coming up every week, and then we got the watch-alongs. Also, once the season starts, I'll be doing the play-by-play, giving you what's, if you're not watching the game or if you don't have a radio, you could go to the channel and check me out right there. As always, make sure to subscribe, and let's go Dodgers. Woo!